Matt Rule is almost over. Gear up for the season with 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days from July 23rd to the 25th, live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Jay Foreman, Amon Green, Adam Carricker, Chancellor Brewington, Derek Pearson, Steve Sipple, Jake Sorensen, and Nick Sainer will be in Indy for our shows Tuesday through Thursday. Getting the latest news from Nebraska and everyone else around the conference. Coverage of Big Ten Media Days is brought to you by 1890 Nebraska, Stevens and Smith Construction, The Complex, Warhorse Casino, and Riddles Jewelry.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl, Jordan, with Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Let's talk commitment. And what better way to do that than with some shiny, sparkly jewelry? Am I right? Now, I'm not suggesting you have to rush, but if you're considering making a significant move, do your planning. We offer financing and payment plans. Lock down your selection with confidence. Until next time, this is Jordan at Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
Hey guys, it's Bill Bush. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty has opened a new location in Pender, Nebraska, in addition to their office in Lincoln. The real estate world can be confusing, so why wouldn't you want an expert helping you every step of the way? If you're looking to buy or sell farmland in Nebraska, Kansas, or Iowa, give Ethan Sorensen a call today at 402-380-0432 or visit them online at nextagrealestate.com. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty with locations in Lincoln and now Pender, Nebraska.
For only $2.99 a day, LES powers life's sweetest moments and keeps all your summer treats icy cold and ready. Learn more at les.com/value.
Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Get ready, Husker fans. The Big Red Preview is coming soon. Join us Saturday night, August 3rd, for an exclusive look at your Nebraska football team in action. Experience the excitement, the energy, the sights and sounds of a game day as the 2024 football season kicks off. Visit Huskers.com/tickets and bring your family, friends, and all your Big Red pride to Memorial Stadium Saturday night, August 3rd. That's Huskers.com/tickets. Brought to you by Husker Athletics and 1890 Nebraska. Winning tradition, future success.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
And it's pretty much just lettuce, tomato, mayo, and bacon. I mean,
that's
you don't
DLT.
need to do much more than that.
Bacon, lettuce, tomato. That's the crux.
This is groundbreaking.
That's the crux of the
today
sandwich.
on the BLT.
That's the crux of it.
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right.
But to have it,
What is the BLT?
what's the most important part is the bacon, the lettuce, and then the tomato.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is Old School, sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Broadcasting veteran Derek Pearson.
When you find something that moves that makes them smile, celebrate it. That's your task. That's your superpower.
Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score!
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Lincoln, y'all. That's right. Back in the 402 for the next couple hours and the rest of the night, really. I'm Austin Norman. I'll be taking you through what is Old School. About as normal as it can be with DP&J on the road in Indianapolis. Old School brought to you by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Special ingredients and butcher shop. Every type of meat and every type of cut, as Jay Foreman would like to say. 2 Lincoln locations. One of them is at 84th and Havelock. The other is at 30th and Yankee Hill. And then one location up in Omaha at 168th and Maple Street. Definitely go check them out. Fired Up Friday coming up here in just a few days. Find the Mercado on whatever your favorite social media platform is. They'll let you know ahead of time what their Friday lunch special is. Make sure you go check that out again at any of the 3 locations. 402-464-5685. If you have any thoughts, any questions, any comments from day one of Media Days out in Indianapolis. I want to thank all those sponsors once again. It's 1890 Nebraska, Stevens & Smith Construction, the Complex Lincoln, Warhorse Casino, and Riddles Jewelry for their sponsorship of our cruise trip out there to Lucas Oil Stadium. Guys, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little jealous, right? I'm not mad that I get to stay home, see my kid every night, not be apart from him, my wife obviously as well, parents, family, friends. Business as usual is good. But there's not even a single Colts fan that made the trip. Like, Jay is actively hating on the city of Indianapolis and the stadium and everything about it. And I'm not even there to defend the Colts' honor at all. Jay won't talk to me. Jay won't listen to me at all from back here. So next year, a couple years, whenever it is, I need to finally make my first trip out there to Lucas Oil Stadium. Hopefully for Big Ten Media Days. But hey, if it's a Colts game too, that would also be fine by me. Again, 402-464-5685 if you've got any thoughts on Big Ten Media Days Day 1. We heard from Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, Rutgers, Wisconsin, and of course, Ohio State. We'll go over those teams a little bit later in the show, probably in hour number 2. One of those teams we'll talk about here in just a minute. Yesterday during Old School, I broke these Big Ten teams, all 18 of them, down into different tiers of where I think they'll finish, what their expectations are as well. And I didn't get through all of the tiers. I got through most of them, but the top 2 tiers I didn't get through. I want to finish that discussion up. I don't say we got sidetracked. We had some good Nebraska comments and questions. So make sure you check out the podcast after the show. If you missed yesterday's show, maybe I have Nebraska in my list today. Maybe I had them yesterday. It's for me to know and for you to find out if you missed it. I also had an exchange on Twitter with someone who came after me for not coming correct with my facts. And you know what? They were right. I didn't have all my facts straight, but I think my overarching point was solid. What did we learn from Bryce McGowens and Nebraska men's basketball that we can apply to Dylan Raiola? What did we learn from Bryce McGowens that we can apply to Dylan Raiola? We'll go over that next segment, some NFL headlines, and then lots of Big Ten football ahead in hour number 2. All right, 402-464-5685. Here are the tiers that I have for Big Ten football. I've got the new coaches tier. I've got the, oh, you're still here tier, the wait and see tier, the show us something tier, the one-dimensional tier, and the contenders tier. We got through the first of those 4. We have the one-dimensional and the contenders tier to go. I will tell you that Nebraska is not in my one-dimensional tier. The reason for that is that as good as the defense was last year, it still wasn't quite at the level of consistent impact like these teams, best units were. Now, it could have been, right? We know the defense kept Nebraska in more games than it belonged in last year. But 2 of these defenses that I'm going to talk about actively made plays to win games, got takeaways, put points on the board. Nebraska just didn't do that last year, right? It was a stifling defense, absolutely. But if Nebraska, is going to go in the one-dimensional direction and be in this conversation, I needed to see more from the defense. And we know what the offense was last year. Those 2 defenses that I'm talking about are Michigan and Iowa. Arguably the 2 best defenses in the country. Sure, throw Georgia in that conversation. You can throw Minnesota on the low in that conversation. Texas's defense was pretty good, exposed a little bit by Washington, but it was pretty darn good all year long. But for this year, I don't think Iowa has fixed its offense necessarily. I'm sure there's been some tinkering going on. There have been some tweaks, absolutely. But you don't go from a bottom 5, bottom 10 offense in college football to middle of the pack in 1 year. I still believe this is going to be a below average Iowa offense. The reasons for optimism for Hawkeyes fans is that the offensive line needed a year. It wasn't at the typical Iowa level that you would think of. And you hope that is back up to, producing NFL draft talent if you're an Iowa fan. Backfield looks pretty solid. Cade McNamara, as long as he's healthy, is miles better than Deacon Hill was for Iowa last year. Better than Petrus, better than Padilla, all those guys, Padilla, whoever. It hasn't been good for Iowa at the quarterback position. McNamara's not elite, but he's definitely an upgrade. Wide receiving core, we'll see. Caleb Brown had some issues in the offseason. Tight ends, are always going to be good. Lachey got injured last year. He's back, and I assume that'll be with a vengeance. He's a matchup problem. He's a dude. But it's still going to be the defense, right? Led by Higgins, the middle linebacker, led by Castro, the safety, led by Phil Parker, the defensive coordinator. Iowa is still one-dimensional until they prove otherwise. And I think they have to be thought of as one-dimensional until proven otherwise, because the running game that you think of when you think of Iowa, it's defense and running the ball. Running the ball hasn't really been there for Iowa. It hasn't been nearly as efficient as it was in 2016 through 2018, that range. It's tailed off on the sneak, and people don't talk about it because of how good the defense is, and it's just a general offensive struggle. But the offensive lines haven't been as good. The running game hasn't been as good, and that's only amplified the struggles of the quarterbacks for Iowa. Two more teams in this one-dimensional tier. One of them's Michigan. Michigan is here because we don't know who the starting quarterback is. We don't know what the offense looks like. We know that Donovan Edwards is there. He was good 2 years ago. Did less than split time with Corum last year, took a step back. Is he ready to jump back into the feature back role? Who takes over at quarterback? Is it as simple as, hey, Alex Orji, you're the physical specimen. We're going to plug you in. We're going to build around your strengths. You're our Cam Newton. I don't know what it is that Michigan does on offense, what it is they're going to hang their hat on. They're going to want to run the ball. They're going to want to go play action. But Jim Harbaugh, again, not a guy that's thought of as an X's and O scheme guy, had some pretty good stuff, was able to coach his young quarterbacks through his system and get exactly what he needed out of them. And he's off to the NFL now. We know Sharon Moore is a standout offensive line coach. He's really good at it. His units and the Joe Moore Award were always in that conversation, if not winning it. So that he's going to want to run the ball, especially with an unproven quarterback. No matter who they go with, is going to be an unproven guy. Is Donovan Edwards ready for his moment? Is Donovan Edwards good enough to stand up underneath the weight of all those carries? There's a reason Corum took over as the guy. Corum was special. I'm not saying Edwards isn't or can't be, but we haven't seen it as consistently from Edwards as we did from Corum. So I'm curious if he's the guy that Michigan wants to build a running game around, or if they do go more play action. Get Alex Orji again if he's the starter on the run a little bit more. And then the other one-dimensional team is USC. USC could very easily be in the show us something tier, along with Nebraska, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Maryland, and Northwestern, as I see it. But the conversation around USC is that they're one-dimensional. That it's offense, points, nothing else. You can't tell me there's another way to look at USC. Yes, obviously they have to show you something. But what does USC have to show us? They have to show that they're more than one-dimensional. They have to show that they're committed to playing defense, that they're committed to taking on and shedding blockers, that they're able to stand up to bully ball. You can run away from, you can run around a bully, but only for so long. You'll get tired. You got a lot of good defensive coordinators here in this conference. They'll figure it out sooner than later. As good as your athletes are on the offensive side of the ball, Big Ten schemes are just as good. And I wonder if there's going to be any sort of underrating of the talent from these West Coast teams coming in. Oh, he's only a 3-star, was only a 3-star. Oh, he's only, this tall or only weighs this much. Or, oh, he didn't have, many offers coming out of high school, whatever it is. I wonder if there's a degree of hubris, potentially, pride, arrogance, whatever it is you want to call it, from USC and from UCLA specifically. The reason that I think it's specific to those two teams is that Oregon and Washington have matched up against Big Ten talent recently and current Big Ten talent recently, right? We know Washington just got done losing to Michigan in the college football playoff championship game. They got an introduction to Big Ten football because right now, Big Ten football is Michigan style football because Michigan's won the conference, 3 years in a row now? Because Ohio State is still really good, but they're on the back burner, right? Michigan owns the conference right now. Do I think that continues this year? I don't necessarily, which is why they're in the one-dimensional tier, could also be the show me something tier. Michigan's fine. They'll be good. I think that defense is going to carry them to some wins, but I think the loss of Jim Harbaugh is going to be more tangible offensively than it is defensively. But like I said, for USC, do they come in with humility? Do they come in with the spirit of, hey, we have to not just bulk up, we have to man up, have to put our mind to it and find a way to fight through this Big Ten adversity? Or do they try to bring their style, SoCal style, to the Big Ten? We know Nebraska tried to bring, Big 8, Big 12 style to the Big Ten, and it didn't work. We know all the pitfalls of attempting to do that in a realm like the Big Ten with a bunch of proud coaches and a bunch of proud programs. It's not as easy as, oh, this is what we want to do, so we're going to go do it. You got to work for it. You got to earn every inch that you get in the Big Ten. Is USC willing and able to do that? I don't know. I guess we'll see. I want to give Lincoln Riley the benefit of the doubt. I think he's still a good coach. I like some of the moves that he made, but does he believe in them? Is Lincoln Riley legitimately convicted in his moves and saying, yep, these are the guys that I know I had to go with to save my career at USC. This is the best, cushiest job I'm going to get. Sorry, Oklahoma, you're a really good job. It's hard to write you off, but come on. Southern California, retirement beaches and all that sort of stuff. Lincoln Riley, I wonder how often he's imagined himself retiring at USC. Maybe there's more down the road for him in terms of being a college coach. Maybe there's more with a jump to the professional ranks. Right now, given how USC's going, I don't think that happens unless, and I do mean unless, Lincoln Riley, flames out at USC and goes to the NFL. I just don't think that's in the cards. I just don't think that's likely for him. He's a good coach. I don't know if he's a great coach. He might end up being a career coordinator, which again, I don't mean as a knock or a derogatory term, but if you fail at USC as head coach, are you going to want to, go coach at the Group of 5 level to work your way up? Are you going to want to take a Vanderbilt job, a Mississippi State job? Those don't scream Lincoln Riley to me. Could I see him in the new look Big 12? I could. I really could see Lincoln Riley in the Big 12, which again, makes sense given that he came from Oklahoma is where he got to start. I could see Lincoln Riley going back to the Big 12 and having some success. We have a text on our Starter Heyman text line, 402-464-5685. It comes from Derek in a car. Derek says, I believe Southern Cal will struggle against their Big Ten schedule and probably lose 4 conference road and home games. Here's that USC schedule. LSU in Vegas, so neutral site, but obviously closer to the Trojans. Utah State bye week. At Michigan, Wisconsin at the Coliseum. At Minnesota, Penn State at the Coliseum. At Maryland, host Rutgers. At Washington. That's 7 straight weeks of football sandwiched between bye weeks, and that's a pretty brutal stretch. Your first Big Ten game on the road at Michigan, my gut tells me that USC and Michigan put together would be a great team. It's going to be strength on strength. It's going to be styles make fights. You lean Michigan because they're at home in the big house, and you lean Michigan because we've seen them beat up on teams like USC before. We haven't seen USC run around teams like Michigan before. Wisconsin, we'll see. I mean, that's a hot seat battle potentially, or a warming seat battle between Lincoln Riley and Luke Fickell. At Minnesota, similar-ish color schemes. We'll see what old PJ has cooking. Penn State at home, that's tough because of the travel for the Nittany Lions. But I think Penn State's the better, more rounded team than not Ohio State, than USC. At Maryland, USC should probably win that one. Rutgers at home. Rutgers is just Michigan light, I think, which is, not a bad thing to be. But I still think I take USC to beat Maryland, Rutgers, and then I'm fascinated to see what Washington is. They could be anything. I think they scrape by bowl eligibility. I think they get there. Not hugely sold on it. But then after that 7-game stretch, USC gets a bye. They get Nebraska on the 16th, with Nebraska coming off a bye as well. They go to UCLA week of Thanksgiving, and then Notre Dame to end the regular season. And I think Notre Dame's going to be pretty good this year. 5 offensive starters and 9 defensive starters returning. 64 lettermen, all according to the Phil Steele preview magazine. And we'll keep getting into old Phil and his previews. Derek in the car says, to me, it looks like a Maryland situation or even Rutgers. Yeah, potentially. I see where you're coming from with that, Derek. A team that, results could definitely be there. Expectations are not at all the same. Expectations are much higher for USC in this new conference than they were for Maryland entering, and of course, higher than they were for Rutgers entering. Rutgers won 9 games early on in its Big Ten tenure. People forget. And then it plummeted fast. Flood wasn't able to keep it going. Ash was really bad, and that's why Greg Schiano is there right now. We're still on our text line. We go to Wahoo. And Rick, I need some clarification. Austin, what do you think the 4 new teams would be struggling with this year? I think there's a lot of things that these new teams would be struggling with. I think for USC, it's adjusting to the physical play of the league. And I'm not just saying that offhand. I'm not just saying that because of the narrative. I'm saying that because look at how the Utah versus USC games have gone in recent history. Utah has won those games because they're more physical. You've seen USC skill position players, make plays here and there. But there's a reason Utah has won those games. They're well coached, they're consistent, they're solid, they're steady, and they're physical. They beat you up. USC does not respond well to that. There are plenty of good defensive coordinators in the Big Ten. There are plenty of physical teams in the Big Ten. So that's where I think USC will struggle. UCLA will struggle in kind of the same ways that they've always struggled, in being the forgotten one, in being in Los Angeles, but out of the limelight really at the same time in college football. They'll struggle with a first-year head coach who's now jumping to a new conference. It's great that he's been at UCLA. That'll pay dividends in recruiting, I would think, but that's not going to win games on the field this year. At least I wouldn't count on the Deshaun Foster connection winning UCLA any extra games. What is Washington going to struggle with? Washington's going to struggle because they lost so many players. Washington is going to struggle because they lost the core of that team. Let me pull up my Phil Steele preview for Washington here. I'm just a few pages away from then here in the Big Ten section. So Washington, 14-1 last year. They returned 2 offensive starters and 4 defensive starters. They returned 27 lettermen is all. 9 on offense, 16 on defense, and then 2 special teamers. That's not a lot of consistency. That's not a lot of stability. And it's not just that you lose offensive starters, it's who you lose. Your top 2 receivers, your quarterback, your running back, a couple linemen. That's a big deal. Washington, I think people are doing a good job of tamping down expectations, not expecting the world from Washington again. And the Huskies won some close games last year. That's because I thought they were well coached under Kalen DeBoer. They had a baller at quarterback and a couple go-get-it wide receivers. And, 3 of them, really, in Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, and then Jalen McMillan as well. Washington doesn't have that same depth of talent. And they're jumping to a new league. And they're in a place that when Husky Stadium's rocking, it's rocking. But Washington can get forgotten about, even in that scene in football, with the Seahawks, with the Kraken up there with soccer as well. So I worry about Washington falling through the cracks. And then finally, Oregon. Oregon, I think, is going to potentially struggle with the expectations. For my money, they're the second most talented team in the conference. Lanning might step in the door as the best coach in the conference. Maybe some deference to Ferentz having been there. Ryan Day's 56-8 in his time at Ohio State. James Franklin's been around the block a time or two. Shiano's really good at what he does, even if the results aren't there. Bielema's another old head. But it's tough to come into a new league with expectations of winning it. And that's what Oregon's doing, right? Maybe not winning the league, but at least, challenging for the top of the conference. And most people's pick to play in the conference championship game. The Cleveland.com poll had 2 teams with first team votes. It was Ohio State, and then it was Oregon. 21 votes for the Bucknuts, 6 for the Ducks. So Oregon has expectations, legitimate expectations that I think they need to deliver on given, Phil Knight's rhetoric, Phil Knight's promises and commitment for NIL. I think that has to be upheld on the football field, right? The team has to uphold its end of the bargain to get that funding. Travis, let's get to this after the break. That's a really good question on the text line from Travis. We'll go to break. We'll answer that. We'll talk through it. Want your thoughts. Why is Luke Fickell on the hot seat? Is Matt Rule on the hot seat as well? We'll ask that question and more when we get back here to Old School.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive Certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
Get ready, Husker fans. The Big Red Preview is coming soon. Join us Saturday night, August 3rd, for an exclusive look at your Nebraska football team in action. Experience the excitement, the energy, the sights and sounds of a game day as the 2024 football season kicks off. Visit Huskers.com/tickets and bring your family, friends, and all your Big Red pride to Memorial Stadium Saturday night, August 3rd. That's Huskers.com/tickets. Brought to you by Husker Athletics and 1890 Nebraska. Winning tradition, future success.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
And it's pretty much just lettuce, tomato, mayo, and bacon. I mean,
That's
you don't need to do
BLT.
much more than that.
Bacon, lettuce, tomato. That's the crux.
This is groundbreaking
That's the crux of
stuff
the
here today
sandwich.
on the BLT.
That's the crux of it.
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right.
But the habit.
What is the BLT?
What's the most important part is the bacon, the lettuce, and then the tomato.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
The weather is hot, the kids are out of school, and you're on your way to the lake and summer road trips. Are you getting to your vacation spot comfortably, or is your car letting you down? Mullen Motors Lot is full of great vehicles to take home, so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride for summer road trips and beyond. Mullen Motors.
No tag-ons, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
If it was the Big Ten and the SEC and the Big 12 and the ACC's idea to kick back to grow the game at lower levels, we wouldn't have these conversations. But because the NCAA is asking them to do that, it feels like they're getting their wallet stolen, money taken out of it, and it's not their idea, so they're against it.
Yeah.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hey guys, it's Bill Bush. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty has opened a new location in Pender, Nebraska, in addition to their office in Lincoln. The real estate world can be confusing, so why wouldn't you want an expert helping you every step of the way? If you're looking to buy or sell farmland in Nebraska, Kansas, or Iowa, give Ethan Sorensen a call today at 402-380-0432 or visit them online at nextagrealestate.com. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty with locations in Lincoln and now Pender, Nebraska.
Get ready, Husker fans. The Big Red Preview is coming soon. Join us Saturday night, August 3rd, for an exclusive look at your Nebraska football team in action. Experience the excitement, the energy, the sights and sounds of a game day as the 2024 football season kicks off. Visit Huskers.com/tickets and bring your family, friends, and all your Big Red pride to Memorial Stadium Saturday night, August 3rd. That's Huskers.com/tickets. Brought to you by Husker Athletics and 1890 Nebraska. Winning tradition, future success.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl, Jordan, with Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Let's talk commitment. And what better way to do that than with some shiny, sparkly jewelry? Am I right? Now, I'm not suggesting you have to rush, but if you're considering making a significant move, do your planning. We offer financing and payment plans. Lock down your selection with confidence. Until next time, this is Jordan at Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Back to old school with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
DP and J are in Indy. I'm Austin Norman, back in Lincoln, holding down the fort for the next hour and a half here on Old School, brought to you by The Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, 2 Lincoln locations and 1 Omaha location. Big thanks as well to Sartor Heyman Jewelers for their sponsorship of our text line and video streams, as well as Allo for channel 961 and our VIP line. Not using that today. I'm sure we will throughout the week. All right, Travis on the text line. I am so beyond confused. Why is Fickell on the hot seat? Is Rule on the hot seat then too? Fickell beat him year 1. All right. Do I believe that Luke Fickell should be on the hot seat? Absolutely not. Signed the same 8-year contract that Matt Rule did. Got it extended for a year. So now his contract runs through March 31st of 2031, whereas Matt Rule's contract still runs through 2030. Wisconsin 7-6 last year with that win over Nebraska. Nebraska 5-7, was 5-3 at one point, finished 0-4 in November. So why is Fickell, why am I saying Fickell's on the hot seat and Matt Rule, does he deserve to be there too? Neither guy deserves to be on the hot seat. I think it's ridiculous. The conversations around these two programs are entirely different. And that's where I think there's more of a sense of uneasiness around Wisconsin than there is Nebraska right now. Matt Rule had a lot to fix. He had a lot to change. We know he's doing things a lot differently than Scott Frost was, than Mike Riley was, even than Bo Pelini was, right? Matt Rule's had to make these changes, but the changes that Matt Rule has made fall in line with Nebraskans' expectations of this program. Development, walk-ons, under the radar pickups of, being a leader in nutrition, of having the best facilities. I know Matt Rule is mostly the beneficiary of that more so than the driving force behind it. But what Matt Rule is saying, how he's talking, what he's telling us he wants his teams to reflect are in line with what Nebraskans' expectations are. Contrary to that is what Luke Fickell did up at Wisconsin. Don't forget just how much drama there was surrounding Paul Christ's exit. He's relieved of his duties halfway through the year. Jim Leonhard elevated to interim coach. And that's the guy a lot of Wisconsin fans and a significant portion of the team thought was going to get the full-time job. He didn't get it. Wisconsin did what I still believe to be the right thing and do a big national search. I think Jim Leonhard is one heck of a defensive coordinator. Maybe he's going to be a really good head coach someday. I think it would have been a cop-out and a disservice to Wisconsin to not go through a full coaching search. Leonhard was fine. Wisconsin was meh with him. He didn't move the needle for me, but again, in an interim role. And you have to remember, too, Paul Chryst was very Bo Pelini in his results at Wisconsin, right? Won you 9-10 games, got to a good bowl game, very rarely, if ever, a great bowl game. Not a lot of success at the highest level of the conference. you had to bring them up into the conversation, but you kind of felt obligated to do it more so than seriously wanting to enter them into the conversation. There was never that extra gear for Bo Pelini at Nebraska or for Paul Chryst at Wisconsin. Or if there was that extra gear, those teams didn't realize it. But Paul Chryst was Wisconsin through and through. He was simple. He was effective enough. He was, I don't want to say boring. That's a bad word. But Paul Chryst fell in line with Wisconsin expectations after, Bielema, after Alvarez. He was returned to normal after everything that went down with Gary Anderson. And then he's told he's not doing well enough. He's let go. The Frank Solich, the Bo Pelini, but in season for Wisconsin. An extremely popular up-and-comer is passed over for head coach. And I think Wisconsin got a good one in Fickell. But there's a lot of fans that, didn't want to have to go through that search that thought Leonard was the guy. So not only, were Wisconsin fans, even if they were excited about the hire, slightly miffed, bummed that Leonard wasn't going to be retained as DC. The new head coach comes in and takes a sledgehammer to the Wisconsin identity and going and getting Phil Longo. And I don't think he truly did take that sledgehammer. Again, I think that's more perception. Guys, Phil Longo is not averse to running the ball. He had 2,000-yard rushers in the same year at North Carolina. Like any coach worth his salt, I believe Phil Longo targets and identifies who his playmakers are and wants to get them the ball. Maybe he had an out-of-body experience, right? Didn't give the ball to Braylon Allen as much as he should have. Maybe he prioritized Tanner Mordecai and Will Pauling over Braylon Allen, right? That happens. Phil Longo is a really good offensive coordinator, but he didn't fit with Wisconsin's expectations of what the program should be. And that's fine if it works. But I think Wisconsin fans expected, with Fickell's pedigree, with Longo's pedigree of having elite offenses, I'm sure they expected some growing pains. I'm sure they didn't expect 7-5. The defense was good. It wasn't Wisconsin good. It wasn't Wisconsin standard of good. So you change or want to change the fabric of the program, and it doesn't go the way you want it to or fans want it to, there's going to be more questions. Because the reason you make the Luke Fickell move and he makes the Phil Longo move is to elevate you into something more than you have been. If you make those moves and you're the same or worse, then fans are saying, well, what's the point? Why did we do this? It didn't work. And now we've gone through all this unnecessary drama and rigmarole and hand-wringing that we didn't have to. What was the purpose? What was the point? If Wisconsin's looking to improve its ceiling, it hires Luke Fickell. If Wisconsin wanted to keep the floor the same, it keeps Paul Chryst. That's how I'll break it down. Travis follows up on the text line. So the conversation around the program means they're going to be better. Nebraska wins the offseason every single year. There's no change to that since Riley was at Nebraska. Nebraska's offseason champions every single year. Who has Rule developed? Travis, I do agree with that last sentence. They lucked out because of Five Star's dad play here. Yes and no. I could take a little bit of umbrage with that, but I get where you're coming from. Who has Rule developed? You can't say he's developed anyone yet because you've only had 1 year. But to be fair, you saw the best year out of Ty Robinson. You saw the best year out of Nash Hutmacher. You saw Jamari Butler become an impact player. You saw them pick a position for Tommy Hill, and he thrived in it. You saw on the offensive end, right? They were the ones that wanted Jalen Lloyd, convinced him to come. And all he did was tie Marvin Harrison Jr. for the most touchdowns of 50-plus yards. Heinrich Haarberg, wasn't great, but he was playing quarterback. The other staff didn't want to do that, didn't want to give him that chance. So that counts as a little bit of development. We saw Bryce Benhart play some of the best football of his career after a lot of issues last year. Maybe it's just health related, but Thomas Fidone actually played and was something of a factor. That's got to count for something. That's who Matt Rule's developed. And you see the seeds being planted there. And obviously, was a Wisconsin beat writer, a fan, could speak more onto who Wisconsin's developed. Maybe it's more than Nebraska, maybe it's less. But you think of even someone like, a James Williams, right? Coming out of nowhere, pass rush, sub package, and he's making an impact. Is that a fluke, or do you credit Rule for development? I suppose it depends on your perspective. Probably a little bit of both, right? Maybe James Williams has a role to play this year. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he took a step forward last year, and that's the only step forward he's going to take. We don't know. We'll see. And that's the point. It's only been 1 year for both these guys, which is why neither of them deserve to be on the hot seat. But the conversation around the program is important for us. And I do think it's important, to have these conversations in the landscape, because athletic directors and presidents and chancellors and whoever can't, but also need to take the image and the perception into account. If they are so confident in their move to go hire Luke Fickell up at Wisconsin, they don't give, 2 plum nickels. What I say, what anyone on our station says, what anyone in Milwaukee or Madison has to say, right? If they're that confident in it, they shouldn't make their decisions based off vibes or, what's the fan base going to think about this? But they have to be prepared to defend their actions. And at some point, you're in the get it right business. At some point, it comes down to wins and losses for a football team, because wins and losses affects the bottom line, affects how much money is brought into the program. Maybe to a lesser degree in the Big Ten, right? Because you have that much money flowing in from the TV contract and sponsorships and whatnot. But you still get more money for going to the college football playoff than for missing the college football playoff. You also, as we've seen, up close and personal here at Nebraska, you don't make decisions based off of, what the fans are thinking, but you have to be aware of what they're saying and be able to defend your argument and come with a rational plan. More fans will be willing to listen to you if, you make a hire, it doesn't work. You say, hey, here are the criteria that we saw when we hired him. It didn't work out. We gave it a run. Sorry, we'll get it right next time. You don't get it right enough, you're eventually fired. Travis says, Lincoln Riley and Fickell being on the hot seat this year, none of that is true. I'm not saying it should be, but it might be. And that's just a problem with college athletics and football in general. I would say Lincoln Riley's a darn good coach. Luke Fickell's a darn good coach. They're not on the hot seat because of what fans think, but what fans think and what the expectation of is for that program, whether athletic directors, chancellors, presidents, whoever admit it or not, plays a part in their decision-making. Not saying it should, not saying it shouldn't, but they're not just on the hot seat because we need fodder. They're on the hot seat because they're not living up to expectations. Riley's had a couple of years. Fickell's had one. Again, if it's me, I give them more time. I absolutely do. Both of them. They're both good coaches who have proven it before, which is why I don't think they should be on the hot seat. But I also think it's short-sighted and misses the environment of the day to say they're not on the hot seat. Like, there's no way they're on the hot seat. Thunderknot Collins, how do you question who Rule has developed? He's been here for a year. Yes, exactly. He hasn't had a lot of time, but we saw growth. We saw steps in the right direction from a number of guys that we weren't sure would ever take a step forward, that had opportunities under a previous staff to take a step forward and didn't. Whether it was the scheme, whether it was the role, whether it was the training, whatever it is, we saw in year one a number of breakouts, a number of guys who impressed beyond what they'd shown. And that's commendable. Got to see it again. It can't stop there. Those guys can't have had their best years last year. Got to be better this year. And if they have another year or two after that, keep getting better. That's the point. Because that to me has been one of the biggest problems at Nebraska is stalled development and plateauing. So many guys will have one good year and then not get better or not be able to maintain that level even. So if Matt Rule is able to take some of these players that had a good year last year and make them have an even better year this year, keep tinkering, but keep doubling down on strengths at the same time, that'll be development. Texts are flowing in here on the text line, 402-464-5685. Keep them coming. I'll be with you till 6 o'clock before we turn it over to Ticket Weeknights. I'm Austin Norman. This is Old School, brought to you by the Mercado on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Get ready, Husker fans. The Big Red Preview is coming soon. Join us Saturday night, August 3rd, for an exclusive look at your Nebraska football team in action. Experience the excitement, the energy, the sights and sounds of a game day as the 2024 football season kicks off. Visit Huskers.com/tickets and bring your family, friends, and all your Big Red pride to Memorial Stadium Saturday night, August 3rd. That's Huskers.com/tickets. Brought to you by Husker Athletics and 1890 Nebraska. Winning tradition, future success.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl, Jordan, with Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Let's talk commitment. And what better way to do that than with some shiny, sparkly jewelry? Am I right? Now, I'm not suggesting you have to rush, but if you're considering making a significant move, do your planning. We offer financing and payment plans. Lock down your selection with confidence. Until next time, this is Jordan at Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of local union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Hey guys, it's Bill Bush. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty has opened a new location in Pender, Nebraska, in addition to their office in Lincoln. The real estate world can be confusing, so why wouldn't you want an expert helping you every step of the way? If you're looking to buy or sell farmland in Nebraska, Kansas, or Iowa, give Ethan Sorensen a call today at 402-380-0432 or visit them online at nextagrealestate.com. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty with locations in Lincoln and now Pender, Nebraska.
You're listening to Big Ten Media Days coverage from Indianapolis. Sponsored by 1890 Nebraska, Stevenson Smith Construction, The Complex, Warhorse Casino, and Riddles Jewelry on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. On the block with Strick and Austin.
If it was the Big Ten and the SEC and the Big 12 and the ACC's idea to kick back to grow the game at lower levels, we wouldn't have these conversations. But because the NCAA is asking them to do that, it feels like they're getting their wallet stolen, money taken out of it, and it's not their idea, so they're against it.
Yeah. Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is Bree Fansteel, local race car driver. Join me and James Rowland every Sunday at 7 p.m. for The Finish Line, where we discuss off-road, on-road, and sometimes next-to-the-road racing on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back to Old School with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hour one of Old School's flown by. Thanks for being along for the ride. I'm Austin Norman. Keep your texts, your questions, your comments coming here. A couple more here on our Sartor Heyman Jewelers text line to get to before we start hour two of Old School. Thunder Collins, appreciate you chiming in here. He says, how do you not consider Lincoln Riley on the hot seat? USC doesn't want 9 or 10 win seasons. USC wants championships. Lincoln Riley has proven time and time again he can't win when it matters. Do we know that's what USC wants? Do we know? Their athletic department could come out and say, we have full confidence in Lincoln Riley. We understand there are growing pains. We understand he's still a young coach. We know what he did at Oklahoma. We believe in him recruiting. We believe in him to make the right personnel moves. Here's how we're supporting him. They could do that very easily and say, yeah, 9 or 10 is not enough, but we trust Coach Riley to get it back where we want it to be, winning championships. It's one thing to say, right? Every program's going to say that they're in pursuit of championships, that that's at the top of the pyramid. That's what they need to build toward. It's one thing to say it. It's one thing to act it out and live like it. The other problem with USC coming out and saying something like that, which they haven't done, but if they would, is that we in sports are all too familiar with the vote of confidence, right? The athletic director says, yep, he's our guy. We support him fully. We're behind him. We wish the best for him, or we're going to support him with however we can. And then 2 weeks later, chairs pull out from underneath him. Plugs pulled. Coach is gone. Maybe the best thing to do is to work in silence, to support Lincoln Riley behind the scenes, to have these honest, open, candid conversations with him, to try to pick his brain to figure out what he thinks is going wrong, to offer, not saying your football opinion, but ask like, hey, do you have all of the resources? Do you have all of the support you need? Are you getting all the information, all the background you need in hiring these people? Do you have enough time to think through these hiring decisions that you're making, the student athletes that you're recruiting? You don't have to come out in public and say, hey, we support this guy. Hey, we're behind him. Hey, no, we're not having these conversations, right? Because then as soon as you fire him or you do something different, you look hypocritical. You get the quote unquote vote of confidence that never goes over well and is a bad look, even though it happens all the time. Sometimes the best thing to do is let your coach work, support him behind the scenes, figure out what he needs, and then do your best to provide for him. If you've done everything that he asks and he's still not winning to your liking, all right, sure, fine, get him out of there. That's your prerogative. But let's make sure that you're doing everything you can to support your coach. And that starts with realistic expectations and a realistic timeline. 3767. Do you think the coaches give a crap if they get fired? It's easy money. Any coach worth their salt gives a crap if they get fired. They're professionals. This is their livelihood. They know it's the name of the game, that there's a obscenely high amount of turnover in coaching. But just like anyone, it better burn if you get fired. If you get let go, if you told you're not good enough. The coaches that don't give a crap if they get fired are the ones who are in it for themselves, are the ones that are in it for the money, that are in it for the perks. Those are the ones that don't care. And I know sometimes we talk about, coaches who are taking one last job as a parachute package, or, oh, he's just here to rehab his image or whatever. That's just on the outside. That's just our conversation. I hope that every coach, no matter the level, would be pissed if they got fired if you told them they're not good enough. Not pissed at it's so unfair. Why did you fire me? But I hope there's a fire inside them that burns, that said, you don't think I'm good enough? Okay, number one, let me show you. And number two, what do I have to learn to show you? You can even flip those questions around. I'm not good enough. How am I not good enough? What more do I need to learn how to do? Where am I deficient? How can I improve? Real coaches, true competitors aren't happy getting fired. I'm sure they appreciate the buyout and the money and that's there, because they're human. They have bills to pay too. They got mortgages and electrical bills and cell phone bills and whatnot to pay. So yeah, having the money there is nice, but I would hope they're not getting into coaching for the money or the lifestyle. That would be a problem. If you're not upset about getting fired, either you were getting ready to tender your resignation or you're in the profession for the wrong reason. That's just my 2 cents. Thanks again for all your texts and your comments. We got another hour of old school to go. We'll go through day one of Big Ten Media Days, talk about the 6 teams that went today. We'll talk about the 6 teams going tomorrow, including your Nebraska Cornhuskers. And I still want to have this conversation. Is there anything that Husker fans need to have learned from Bryce McGowan's being one and done for Nebraska men's basketball? What can they apply from that situation to Dylan Raiola and his arrival on campus? Should fans be anointing him the savior? Is there even such a thing as a savior? I want to have that conversation. What can Husker fans learn and apply from a few years ago with Bryce McGowens to this coming football season with Dylan Raiola? We'll do all that and more as we get into hour 2 of Old School here on The Ticket.
You're listening to Old School with DP and J. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals. The weather is hot, the kids are out of school, and you're on your way to the lake and summer road trips. Are you getting to your vacation spot comfortably, or is your car letting you down? Mullen Motors Lot is full of great vehicles to take home, so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride for summer road trips and beyond. Mullen Motors.
No tag-ons, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
This is Bree Fansteel, local race car driver. Join me and James Rowland every Sunday at 7 p.m. for The Finish Line, where we discuss off-road, on-road, and sometimes next-to-the-road racing on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Early break with Sip and Jake.
And it's pretty much just lettuce, tomato, mayo, and bacon. I mean,
That's
you don't need to do
DLT.
much more than that.
Bacon, lettuce, tomato. That's the crux.
This is groundbreaking.
That's the
Groundbreaking
crux of
stuff
the
here today
sandwich.
on the BLT.
That's the crux of it.
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right.
But the habit.
What is the BLT?
What's the most important part is the bacon, the lettuce, and then the tomato.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
At Fairway Meat Market, your family. And as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Now, through July 28th, enjoy USDA Choice 8-ounce New York strips for $7.99 each. All natural thick-cut bone-in pork chops for $1.99 per pound. Fairway's fresh ground pork sausage for $2.99 per pound. And Michelob Ultra 24-packs for just $16.99. That's all at Fairway Meat Market in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is Old School, sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Broadcasting veteran Derek Pearson.
When you find something that moves that makes them smile, celebrate it. That's your task. That's your superpower.
Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score!
on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hour 2 of Old School on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com, brought to you by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Every type of meat and every type of cut, special ingredient butcher shop, and more, with 2 Lincoln locations and 1 Omaha location. I'm Austin Norman, taking you through Old School today with DP and Jay out in Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium for Big Ten Media Days. Nebraska takes the podium tomorrow. We'll have a whole lineup of special guests for you. Matt Rule going to be on the air. All 3 Nebraska players making the trip going to be on the air. Rumor has it Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti will be on the air, and I hope Nick hijacks that conversation and just completely talks Big Ten baseball and Tony Petitti's plans for that with the old commish. Man, that'd be a fun conversation to have with them. It all starts right here again at 8. Early break will go at 6 to 8 Central like normal, and then coverage from Lucas Oil Stadium will start at 8, same as today. My guess is it'll run through 4 o'clock Central. That's the schedule I would plan on here for the rest of Media Days, which will be tomorrow and then Thursday as well. So follow the crew out there. Follow 93.7 The Ticket on social media for all your updates, everything you need to know. And we'll keep you updated from back here as best we can as well. 402-464-5685 if you've got any thoughts, anything to add to the conversation, anything you want talked about regarding Big Ten football, Husker football, whatever it is. My eyes, my ears, my attention are yours. Whatever you want to talk about, we can hit. Travis, appreciate your kind words here on the text line. You also say, I just get tired of all off season. We all talk, it's going to be better, but results are always the same. Thanks for letting me rant. Hey, Travis, guess what? Welcome to Radio Biz, man. That's what we do here is we find something we're passionate about. We get it off our chest. We talk about it. It's a circle of friends. It's a circle of trust. I think the vast majority of us here, I would hope all of us, are pulling in the same direction, that we're tired of all the talk, that we're tired of it's going to be better, and then the results aren't there. Strick and I talked a lot last offseason about the runway for Nebraska men's basketball in the non-conference. I really think Husker football has a similar runway here in football. 7 games to figure out who you are, what you're going to be, what the identity of this team is, get new guys settled, get old guys leading, whatever it is. We can never guarantee that it's going to be different. And I can sincerely say there are reasons for optimism for this team. There are plenty of reasons for optimism for this team. We've gotten into them already in the offseason. We'll keep getting into them as we're just about a week away from camp. When we wake up tomorrow, when we wake up on Wednesday, we're a week away from fall camp starting. Right? And that's when the rubber really meets the road, if it hasn't already. So yes, talk is cheap. Results are absolutely what matters. I'm not here to, sell you a bill of goods. I'm not trying to blow smoke anywhere it doesn't belong. I legitimately believe there are reasons for optimism for this team, just as there are reasons for pessimism. Or even if you're not pessimistic, if you're just in the boat of show me something, guess what? That's where I end up with this Husker team as well. It's one thing to be excited about all the returners on defense, including the defensive coordinator. It's one thing to be excited about some of the transfer portal ads. It's its whole own level of excitement for Dylan Raiola, which we'll get into here in just a minute. But it's also fair to ask the questions. Will the run game be better? Can the receivers get off of press coverage? Just how good will the quarterback position be? Is there another step in this defense? Was last year the fluke? Have other teams adjusted? How does Nebraska respond to 4 new teams in the conference and having to see 2 of them? There are all sorts of questions around this team. For every reason for optimism, I can give you one to question. And for every question, I can throw it back with a reason for optimism. That's why I think we're all just tired of the month of July. And we're going to get real tired of the month of August real fast until August 30th. The day before the game, guys, we're going to be there before we know it. We're a month and a week away from kickoff. And that's crazy. We'll get answers to some of our questions sooner than later. Some of those questions won't be answered this year. Some of them will never be answered. Let's just let it play out. Let's enjoy the ride. And really, honestly, truly, thank you for coming here to talk about it with us. I speak for myself. I speak for Strick, my partner. I speak for DP and J on the show. And I'll even speak for the morning and early afternoon guys. We appreciate you guys. Your thoughts, you're moving the conversation along. We couldn't do it without you. We would miss some aspect of the conversation without you. We truly are honored, and it means the world to us that you're here with us, that you're having these conversations, that you care as much as we do. And I hope that shows through. We hope you keep coming back here throughout the summer, throughout football season, selfishly throughout basketball season as well. 3767 asked the question, do you think coaches give a crap if they get fired? It's easy money. And then he throws out 3 examples. Pelini, Riley, and Frost are still chilling out with all their money. I don't think that's necessarily fair. Pelini went straight from being fired at Nebraska to coaching at Youngstown State, did that from 2015 to 2019, and then he was the defensive coordinator at LSU for a year. Did not go well, but Bo didn't just give up coaching and call it quits. And also don't say, well, if they want to fire me, they can fire me. That's not a rationale for Bo, quitting. That was a dare. That was a challenge. That was confident Bo Pelini, who thought his next act after Nebraska was going to be just as good. Was it? That's up for Bo Pelini to decide. But Bo didn't just mail it in. Mike Riley was closer to the end of his career than the beginning. I mean, come on. Nice Mike, Grandpa Mike, and thoughts and prayers to him as well and his family, some of the tough news recently. Even Mike Riley went back to Oregon State in an advisory sort of role. He was around that program and that university. No, he wasn't coaching. I mean, shoot, he coached in the UFL, the XFL, whatever, right after Nebraska as well. So Mike Riley didn't just say, nope, I'm good. I'm using Nebraska for a parachute and dip out of there. And then Scott Frost. Scott Frost is in an interesting boat, and I don't want to have the Scott Frost conversation. Again, it's been relitigated enough times, but I hope we're far enough out from everything that we can say that it's understandable why Scott Frost hasn't gotten back into coaching yet. I think Scott Frost is a competitor. I really do. I think Scott Frost is pretty mentally tough. I really honestly do. I can understand him not wanting to get back into coaching with a young family, wanting to be there, right? If he has this money and he wants to be there for some of the early years for his kids, I don't blame the man one bit for that. And also, it's not just how things went at Nebraska. It's not just that he got fired at Nebraska. It's that he got fired at Nebraska after everything. Think about the expectations. Think about, I'm sure Scott Frost's natural, number one, hesitancy, but number two, probably greater excitement to come back and be the head coach of this program. The one that he left once and then came back to and led to a national championship. I'm sure he had those same visions dancing in his head of, okay, I was somewhere else. I came back home. Let's get this done. Just like I did when I was a player. Hailed as the savior, as the hero, as the light in the dark. And then it didn't work out. Some signs of promise, not a whole lot of tangible substance and success. I don't know if any of us can imagine that level of, trying to put my finger on the right word here, of projection and excitement and optimism about returning to, this place for him in his emotions, his home state, his home program, all of that, the way it was being covered, the way he was being talked about and treated, and then having it go oh so wrong. I can't imagine the number that would do on him or anyone, really. So I'm not shocked he's not back into coaching. I don't think we've seen the last of Scott Frost, head coach, but I'm willing to give him a pass for not being in coaching right now. Big Bird says, isn't there a clause in their buyouts that they have to pursue other opportunities? In plenty of contracts there are. I'm sure it's not a hard, fast rule that it is, but I know it's usually a sign of good faith that you're not just going to take the money and run. So, yeah, I assume that's in most contracts. I'm glad Scott Frost's name got brought up as the savior, because I think that applies to some of the conversation about Dylan Raiola. First 5-star, legit 5-star in a while for this program. Highest rated recruit since Marlon Lucky or Baker Steinkuhler back in the mid to late 2000s. It's a big deal that Nebraska landed a 5-star. Family connections and all, right? They still got him. Do we still think Dylan Raiola is the savior, Husker fans? Do we still think that his presence, his talent, his skills are going to be enough to elevate this program back to consistent respectability? I'd love your thoughts. 402-464-5685. Because you and I watched the same spring game. Dylan Raiola looked the part. He did. Layering throws the way he did. Velocity and touch both. Appeared to be in command and control. You saw the arm, you saw the legs, you saw the decision making. He looked like the total package in the spring game. Obvious caveats apply that it is a spring game. But I was going back and forth with someone on Twitter. I don't even want to say going back and forth. It wasn't snippy, wasn't an argument. I was doing bad research, throwing out bad numbers. He got me on it. But what we settled on agreeing on is Bryce McGowens. The expectations for him might have been a little bit out of whack. So what did we learn from Bryce McGowens that we can apply to Dylan Raiola? First of all, let's just go through Bryce McGowens' numbers. Played in 31 out of 32 games, started all of them, 33 minutes per game. That's a lot for anyone, let alone a freshman. Took 12.8 shots per game, made 40% of them, made essentially 50% of his 2-point attempts, only 27.4% from three. He was also an 83% free throw shooter, chipped in 5 rebounds, an assist and a half, and then a combined block and steal per game to go with 2 turnovers per game. Bryce McGowens, still the first and still the only one-and-done player at Nebraska as a freshman. Do we remember how excited we were to get Bryce McGowens to Lincoln, to see him play? It wasn't even a sure thing that Bryce was going to come to Lincoln. Remember, he was committed to Florida State at one point. And then he decommitted. And then it's, oh man, hey, he has his brother here. Trey's here. Can you get him to come? Can you get him to come? And he did. And he showed up. And that was a big deal to get Bryce McGowens, right? Because this was still early Fred Hoiberg. You had 2019-2020, you had 2020-21. So this is year 3 for Fred Hoiberg when Bryce McGowens walks in the door. A pair of 7-win seasons. You have some pieces returning from the previous year. So looking at that 21-22 Nebraska team, some of the guys that carried over from the year before, obviously, Trey McGowens was among that number. Kobe Webster was there. You had, I believe, Lat Mayen back. Yep, Lat Mayen back from the year before. And you thought, okay, that's a decent spot to start for this team. You add Alonzo Verge. You get Derek Walker into the fold. Derek Walker was on the roster the year before and played, but remember, he was eligible at mid-season the year before, so you get a full year of Derek Walker, who showed some of these flashes. And you could see the excitement building. You get this 6'5", 6'6", lanky scoring guard. And that was, one of Nebraska's issues. Not that go-to guy offensively. Defense was obviously another issue, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But let's not forget how big it was for Nebraska to land Bryce McGowens and how he felt to some degree like a missing piece for those Fred Hoiberg teams. We still didn't know the style, which probably should have been, a bigger precursor for maybe we should pump the brakes a little bit. But we were talking ourselves into, this kid's going one and done. This is if everything breaks right, this is a lottery pick. I mean, Bryce McGowens is going to be so good. I mean, he on his own, maybe he's able to elevate everyone else on the roster, and maybe Nebraska can sneak into the top half of the Big Ten, but shoot, let's just not play on Wednesday of the Big Ten tournament. All fair, because Bryce is that dude. Bryce is a silky smooth scorer. So where'd it go wrong? Number one, I don't think the team was necessarily what was required around him. Alonzo Verge came into his own later in the year, and we write Alonzo Verge off because of how rough it started. When it was Alonzo Verge time earlier in the year, in that season, it was rough to watch. He tried to take over games, tried to do it himself. It wasn't working. It'd be your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn with Virgin Bryce. Not a whole lot of playing through Derek Walker, which Nebraska ended up, unlocking later in the year. But Alonzo Verge, let's not forget, led the Big Ten in assists that year, 5.5 per game. When Alonzo Verge figured out he was the point guard and Bryce McGowens was the shooting guard, the scoring guard, things went better for Nebraska. It took too long to figure that out. They got much closer to that ideal later in the year. Derek Walker was fine, solid, 9.5 points, 6 rebounds. CJ Wilcher transferred over, averaged 8 points per game, but Lat Mayen didn't shoot it great, only averaged 6 points per game. Keisei Tominaga, that was his first year and didn't do that much. I mean, he averaged, 5.7? And then Trey McGowens, right? That was part of the promise that Trey McGowens was going to be there. For that 21-22 season, of course, he hurts his knee. He wasn't healthy for really the last half of the year. Yeah, he played in just 17 of the 32 games. Corey says, Verge was playing in the TBT yesterday. Ball hog, couldn't shake anyone. Just like you said, my turn, your turn. That's what it was at the start of the year. But there were low-key some pretty electric moments from Alonzo Verge. I know he gets a bad reputation, but to be fair to the guy, he averaged 14.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and again, led the Big Ten in assists per game. That's a solid player. You just wish they could have put it together at the start of the year, or at least a couple weeks sooner, and made a run to 500 instead of ending it at 10-22 like they did. The issues where I think Bryce McGowens gets a bad rap because of the record. I think there are plenty of fair criticisms about Bryce McGowens and his defense. Again, not the bulkiest guy, but you didn't see the competitive fire on defense from Bryce all the time. I think he was capable of defending more, and I think equal responsibility for that lack of fire on defense needs to be placed on Bryce McGowens and also the coaching staff. The team that year in 21-22 allowed 78.5 points per game, bottom 20 in the country. They scored 73 per game, which was, top third-ish, give or take, in the country. But you're hemorrhaging points. It was problematic. And I think Bryce McGowens shoulders a lot of responsibility for that as the best player on that team. He wasn't always competitive defensively. And either the coaching staff let him get away with it because they were okay with him taking as many shots as he did on offense and didn't want him to burn himself out on defense, or the staff didn't care. They were more interested in putting up points as well. But yeah, I mean, Nebraska gave up in quadruple overtime 104 to North Carolina State. You give up 102 to Michigan and 99 to Auburn in back-to-back games. 87 to Ohio State, 79 on the road at Michigan State, 93 at Rutgers. You let Rutgers score 93 points on you. That's a problem. 81 at Illinois, 92 at Purdue. You give up 85 at Michigan, 87 to Northwestern in Lincoln, 98 at Iowa, 90 to Maryland in Lincoln, 88 to Iowa after, again, you allowed 98, and that was just like a week and a half, 2 weeks before. And then you rip off a fun little winning streak. You go on the road for 3 straight games. You beat John Hara on his senior day in Happy Valley. You knock off number 23 Ohio State on the road on their senior night, and then the comeback on the road at Wisconsin. You win that game by 1 point, 74-73. Bryce only missed 1 game in that stretch, but I misremembered that. I thought Bryce missed at least the last 2 of those, if not all 3 of those. And I wonder, I don't think I'm alone. I think people see that 3-game winning streak like, oh, that's when Bryce went out. No, Bryce only missed the Ohio State game, I'm pretty sure. He only missed 1 of those 3 games. And Nebraska won all 3 of them. And then the disappointing loss to Northwestern in the conference tournament, a game that Nebraska was up at half, collapsed in the second half, if I remember that game. I don't have the box score pulled up. Yeah, that's right. Nebraska was up 39-25 at halftime on Northwestern. The previous games against Northwestern, Nebraska lost by 12 on the road and lost by 24 at home. So to get up by 14 points, and then you just see it slowly dwindle, possession at a time, You're down. You're not able to get back over that hump. I think two things can be true. Bryce McGowan's shoulders too much blame for what went wrong because so much was expected of him. And at the same time, I don't know if Bryce McGowan's was maximized at Nebraska. I don't want to put that all on his shoulders, and I don't want to put that all on the coaching staff's shoulders. I don't know what went into that. Anything that was going on behind the scenes, any of those conversations, I don't know. To bring it back to the point, Nebraska hadn't experienced a one-and-done player like Bryce McGowan's. So they didn't know what to expect. And then, because of how the season went, Bryce McGowan's and the team did not live up to expectations. And so much of that gets pinned on Bryce McGowan's, both the fair and the unfair. All right, work with me here. Dylan Raiola. Same thing. When's the last time Nebraska had a 5-star quarterback? Exactly. Hasn't happened. Highest rated quarterback recruit since at least Tommy Frazier. Right? That's a big deal. That's been 30 years. You cannot pin everything on Dylan Raiola. I believe that Dylan Raiola has a better supporting cast relative to level than Bryce McGowan's did. I don't think Nebraska's roster is perfect. I think Nebraska's offense is going to struggle at times, and it's going to be Dylan Raiola's fault. I think Nebraska's offense is going to succeed at times, and it's going to have nothing to do, or very little to do, with Dylan Raiola. And the flip side of that is also true. I think the Nebraska offense is going to have moments where Dylan Raiola is making plays that no other quarterback on the roster can. I also think there are going to be moments where Dylan Raiola is doing everything in his power, everything he can, and the rest of the team isn't good enough. And Husker fans, I want us to take all of that context into account. It is not going to be all on the shoulders of Dylan Raiola that the Nebraska football offense improves, and it is not going to be all on the shoulders of Dylan Raiola when the offense stumbles and falters. He's going to throw interceptions. He's probably going to fumble, right? I mean, shoot, he's wearing a Nebraska jersey now. It seems like that's just what happens when you walk into this program, is you get the fumbleitis bug. Dylan Raiola is going to do something spectacular, and it's going to be fun to watch, and he's going to be the future. At least you hope. That, to me, is the other important part of this conversation. How different do we think about Bryce McGowan's if he comes back for a second year? He only stuck around the 1 year. Dylan Raiola can't go pro after 1 year. He's still got to be in college football. You hope, you pray that it's at Nebraska. But you could see the outlines of a legitimate, all Big Ten first-team player in Bryce McGowan's. I understand wanting that from him in year one as a freshman, but I think that was the expectation. And that was always going to be hard to live up to in that Big Ten conference with some of the players at the guard position. I get the hope that Dylan Raiola, bursts onto the scene with a huge year. He's not going to be your first-team All-Big Ten quarterback. Probably not going to be your second-team All-Big Ten quarterback. If he's your third-team All-Big Ten, if he's honorable mention All-Big Ten quarterback, that is a fantastic first year for Dylan Raiola. We never got to see year two for Bryce McGowan's, and that's too bad. That 22-23 team that would have been Bryce's second year ends up 16-16 overall, 9-11 in Big Ten play, scored fewer points per game, scored about 4 or 5 fewer points per game, but allowed 9 or 10 fewer points per game. The defense ticked way up. And I think with a group of guys that was, somewhat more committed to defense, right? I mean, Derek Walker dug in, not an elite defender, but better. Sam Griesel, competed his butt off. Emmanuel Bandamel setting the tone. Jawan Gary came in. Jamarcus Lawrence played some D as a freshman. Sam Hoiberg, right? That's when he got on the floor. That was his calling card. If Bryce McGowan's had been in that defensive system with that level of focus on defense and accountability, would have gone a long way. He wouldn't have had to have had the ball in his hands, your turn, my turn, with Verge, because you had a really good year from Casey, who had taken it out of his hands a little bit. Sam Griesel was handling the ball. Bandamel was the backup point guard. Bryce could have focused on being a 3-and-D player, on getting buckets, right? That was my biggest issue with Bryce, is that 83% on free throws is good. It's not elite, but it tells you we should have shot better than 27% from three-point range. But here's the thing. Freshmen and first-year players struggle shooting the ball all the time. New environments, new arenas, new offensive system, new teammates. I would have loved to have seen Bryce McGowan with another offseason of work, shooting from long range, with a shooting coach like Fred Hoiberg. That would have gone a long way for Bryce McGowan. And I get why he made the jump. I absolutely do. I don't begrudge him for that. It's understandable. But I really think year 2 Bryce McGowan's would have been all Big Ten second team. And maybe that team gets over the hump, gets over 500. They had a couple, they had a 2-game losing streak, had a 4-game losing streak, but they never had a long skid. So adding Bryce McGowan's to that team, maybe it delays the Casey breakout. Maybe we don't see Derek Walker become the player that he is. But a second year for Bryce McGowan's would have gone a long way. Nebraska is not guaranteed a second year with Dylan Raiola. So my hope is that Husker fans have their heads screwed on straight. They hold him to a high standard because he is the best quarterback in terms of ratings they've had since his 44-24 points out Sam Keller. But even he was a transfer. If you look at recruits, it's since Tommy. Keep your head screwed on straight. Be excited by the good. Take the bad, the lumpy, the learning moments with a grain of salt. And do everything in your power to not drive him away from this place for year 2. I get it, you're fans. You don't have that much control over it. I'm media. I have probably even less control over it. But year 1's going to have its ups and downs. You hope year 2 with Dylan Raiola in Lincoln has more ups than downs. Year 3, you hope it's the best year. Because if he has a great year 3 and he's off as a junior, it hurt to leave a year of him on the table, but it shows you that he did his job and that this staff did its job in developing him into the quarterback he can become based on his potential. So step on the gas when you need to, step on the brakes when you need to, and most importantly, don't pin it all on Dylan. We pin too much on Bryce, fair and unfair. Let's not pin too much on Dylan Raiola. Thanks for letting me get that off your chest. You guys have a lot of thoughts on that as well. I want to get to those next when we get back here on Old School.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
The next generation of Huskers starts now. Join the official Kids Club of Nebraska Athletics today to score access to select home games, a discount at the team store, and endless Husker spirit. The free JV team gets you started with a game credential. Upgrade to the $35 Lil Huskers membership for a welcome box and VIP Lil Huskers experiences. Fuel your Husker spirit. Join the Kids Club today at huskers.com/kidsclub. Go Big Red. The weather is hot, the kids are out of school, and you're on your way to the lake and summer road trips. Are you getting to your vacation spot comfortably, or is your car letting you down? Mullen Motors lot is full of great vehicles to take home, so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride for summer road trips and beyond. Mullen Motors.
No tag-ons, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
Stevens & Smith Construction is a full-service, employee-owned concrete company that specializes in residential and commercial foundations and flat work. They've been a leader in the concrete industry since 1971, with nearly 250 employees combining for more than 2,000 years of service. With locations in Lincoln, Omaha, and Kansas City, they're united in quality, integrity, and professionalism to create excellence in construction. Learn more today at stevensandsmith.com.
Get ready, Husker fans. The Big Red Preview is coming soon. Join us Saturday night, August 3rd, for an exclusive look at your Nebraska football team in action. Experience the excitement, the energy, the sights and sounds of a game day as the 2024 football season kicks off. Visit huskers.com/tickets and bring your family, friends, and all your Big Red pride to Memorial Stadium Saturday night, August 3rd. That's huskers.com/tickets. Brought to you by Husker Athletics and 1890 Nebraska. Winning tradition, future success.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just the professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. for happier, healthier furry friends.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Are you or someone you love struggling with substance use? The Bridge Behavioral Health in Lincoln offers outpatient therapy for those 19 and over. The Bridge is conveniently located in the South Haymarket and near city bus lines. With payment options through insurance and a sliding fee scale, services are available for any adult 19 and over seeking help. Call 402-477-3951 to learn more or schedule your appointment today. The Bridge Behavioral Health is a local substance use treatment facility offering hope and a solid foundation for recovery through substance use treatment and behavioral health interventions. For over 15 years, Integrated Life Choices has empowered individuals with disabilities in Lincoln and throughout Nebraska. They provide comprehensive services from group homes and independent living services to job training, ensuring fulfilling lives for those that they serve. Now, they're inviting you to join their mission. If you're passionate about making a difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities, explore rewarding career opportunities with them. Learn more about their services and apply today at www.ilc.net. Be a part of Integrated Life Choices, where your work truly changes lives.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
The Lincoln forecast for today, patchy fog possible this morning. Otherwise, we'll see mainly sunny skies and a slight chance of showers this afternoon. The high around 88. Tonight, mostly clear skies with the low around 66. And tomorrow, we'll see mainly sunny skies return. The high around 93. I'm meteorologist Kyle Tucker from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Play ball!
Ready to unleash the fun with Salt Dogs Baseball? Join us at Haymarket Park for 50 action-packed games running through August. Stay ahead of the game by visiting saltdogs.com for updates on exciting promotions, giveaways, and events happening each week. Experience a change-up from your typical family night, or make it a Grand Slam good time with friends and coworkers.
Strike three, you're out!
Don't miss the fun happening all summer long. Visit saltdogs.com to get your tickets and unleash the fun.
Back to old school with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This would not be a Jay Foreman show if I didn't invoke the name Anthony Edwards at least once. So I'm going to do that here in a sec. I'm Austin Norman. Thanks for tuning in to Old School. I'll be with you here till 6 before we turn it over to Ticket Weeknights. I think there's a little bit of comparison and some contrast to be drawn as well between the year that Bryce McGowan's had and the year that Anthony Edwards had at Georgia 2 years before Bryce McGowan. So again, Bryce McGowan's 17 points, 5 rebounds, 1.5 assists per game, 40.3% field goal percentage, 27% from three, 83% from the free throw line, a player efficiency rating of 16.9, and a 2.2 win share number. All right, Anthony Edwards, 19 points per game to Bryce's 17, same 5 rebounds per game, about another assist and a half per game more for Anthony Edwards. He's at almost 3. Field goal percentage, 40.2 for Ant instead of 40.3 for Bryce. Edwards shot 2% better from 3 at 29%, 6% worse at the free throw line at 77%. His player efficiency rating was 21. His win shares was 3.6. Anthony Edwards was a better defender in college than Bryce McGowan's. He was the SEC Rookie of the Year, 2019-20 All-SEC and all-freshman team as well. And hey, funny enough, both guys ended up wearing number 5. Both guys were top 25 recruits. Well, okay, Bryce was a top 25 recruit. Anthony Edwards was a top 5 recruit. So similar statistical outputs, but Georgia went, what would that be, 10-3? Yeah, 10-3 in non-conference play. Nebraska very much did not go 10-3 in non-conference play. Georgia 5-13 in conference that year. Nebraska right about the same. Neither team was very good in conference, but Nebraska was worse in the non-conference. The differences between Anthony Edwards and Bryce McGowan's, right? If you look at that 21-22 Nebraska team, Bryce McGowan's is, I believe, still the only player from that team, to play in the NBA. The flip side, he is also one of two guys that was rated by the recruiting services. Wilhelm Breidenbach was the other, 98th overall prospect in that same class. Flip side of that, Georgia had Anthony Edwards, number 4 in 2019. They had the number 49 and 63 prospects from 2019, the number top 50 guy from 2017, and a top 80 guy from 2016. One other future NBA guy on the roster, Tamani Kamara, and then Severe Wheeler, right, who ended up having a long college career, undersized point guard. There was more talent on that Georgia team than Nebraska had. Anthony Edwards and Bryce McGowan put up really similar numbers. And again, both teams weren't that great in conference play. We know Nebraska didn't make the postseason. I wonder how close that Georgia team would have gotten. They got a non-conference road win at Memphis, who was top 10 at that time. Georgia went one and done in their conference tournament, but only because it was canceled by COVID. They beat Ole Miss, and then that was that. The rest of the postseason was canceled. So maybe they make a run to the NIT, I'm not sure, but then we know bigger and better things after that for Anthony Edwards. To the text line we go. You guys have a lot of thoughts on this. Let's get to all of these. Dan from Canopy. Bryce didn't win here, so it's hard to tell. He needed to be here longer. He didn't need to, but it would have been nice. Who's a bigger, I don't want to say miss, which would you have preferred to have seen? Isaiah Roby back in Fred Hoiberg's first year or Bryce McGowan's back for a second year? I think that's an interesting conversation. 5284. Put Dylan Raiola on last year's team and we win 7 or 8 games. He's that guy. Potentially. I can't tell you no. I really can't tell you no. But it goes to my next point that they win 7 or 8. Not 9 or 10, not 11 or 12, and not last year, the 15 that it ended up taking to win the national championship game. It's all relative. I brought up the name Tommy Frazier, right? Husker fans older than I know just how good Tommy Frazier was. And the stories are there about how important of a recruit Tommy Frazier was, how close Nebraska was to not even getting him. But the difference was Tommy Frazier was that next level difference maker for a Nebraska team that was already near the pinnacle of the sport. Nebraska was already right there, right? I'm not going to say Tommy Armstrong needed Nebraska worse than Nebraska needed Tommy Armstrong, but I do believe Nebraska needed Tommy Armstrong to help them take that next step. Nebraska had good quarterbacks, a couple great quarterbacks before Tommy. But then Tommy came. He was a game changer, right? Dylan Raiola is not walking into the same situation that Tommy Frazier did. Tommy Frazier doesn't look like a savior because there was nothing to save, really. I mean, you could argue he saved Tom Osborne's legacy by winning the national titles or whatever. But hey, we know Brooke Behringer was there right behind him, helping. We know the defense. We know the supporting cast as well. There was no program for Tommy to save. He didn't have to come in. He couldn't come in and be bigger than the program. I don't think Dylan Raiola is doing that now, but I don't think there was ever any savior narrative attached to Tommy like I've heard thrown around a little bit for Dylan Raiola because of where Nebraska is at as a program. And that scares me, right? And this is where I agree with Scotty Skur. No player can or should save a program. Dylan could be an amazing foundational cornerstone and Husker Hall of Famer, though. Absolutely. Absolutely, he could be. It is too big a task for any one man, woman, or child that you put in the aisle to turn this Nebraska program around. It's bigger than one. It's bigger than two. It's bigger than all. Jay has talked about it so many times, and I wish he was on to talk about it again. Those teams that he played on that won the championships, you were doing your part. Only, ever, and always playing your role, doing your job. To the best of your ability, and to be completely fair, to the best of the ability for those 90s teams was elite. Some of the best college football relative to era that has ever been played and that will ever be played. Nebraska's not there. Asking Dylan Raiola to elevate a program is not the same ask as it was of Tommy Frazier. Tommy had to take Nebraska from great, from really good program, to over the hump, to national championship level. Dylan's got to elevate him from bad or mediocre to, hey, Nebraska's solid. Nebraska's okay. Number one, it's a different task. So it doesn't even bear comparing the two. Like, I don't know if it's easier or harder to go from great program to championship program, or from down in the dumps program to just a bowl eligible program, or what it is. Because not only does Dylan Raiola have to be better than the quarterbacks last year, Dylan Raiola has to make the skill position players better than last year. He has to work with his offensive line better than last year. And the defense has to take a step up from last year. If Nebraska comes back not having added a single tool to the tool belt, not having fiddled with a new drill or a new screwdriver or anything. If Nebraska is the same team it was last year, but with Dylan Raiola, Nebraska will be 5-7 again. Nebraska's going to miss a bowl again. Nebraska has to be better across the board. It's on Dylan Raiola to kickstart that, because you want him to live up to his potential. Because I don't think Nebraska goes and gets a guy who's just talented. I think Nebraska, and I think Matt Rule, is aware enough of locker room dynamics to understand you can't just go get talented players. You have to go get hardworking players. And ideally, your best players are your hardest working players. Whether that's Nash Hutmacher, whether that's Tommy Hill, whether that's one of the two transfer receivers, throw an offensive lineman in that conversation as well. Your best players have to be your hardest workers. And maybe the best players Nebraska has now are just solid to good. That's what I tend to believe. I don't know if there is an all-time Husker on this roster this year. Why is that important? Because it changes how you view the expectations for this team. If you think that Jamal Banks or Isaiah Neyor are going to have, an all-time great season at Nebraska, going to be in the Trey Palmer, Samori Toure, Nate Swift, Johnny Rogers conversation, cool. Hope you're right. Not sure I buy that. The offensive line is improved, but improved doesn't mean elite or great. It means it's a solid offensive line. Running back room entirely unsettled. A lot of interesting pieces there. Not a lot proven. The defensive line was good last year. Let's see those guys be really good this year. Right? If good is the ceiling for every position group at Nebraska, Nebraska's going to win 7 or 8 games, which is a step in the right direction, but it doesn't mean there's a savior there. There's a catalyst. There's a spark. There's an inspiration. There's throw your favorite adjective in there. But that's not a savior, right? It's just not. The closest thing to a savior on Nebraska's roster is Matt Rule. And I don't say that to, again, pump smoke or anything. Let's not forget where Baylor was under Art Briles. The depth that program was at when Matt Rule took over. It was an untouchable Chernobyl job. And Matt Rule took it to the top of the Big 12, or darn near the top of the Big 12, in 3 years. Trust the process. Don't get carried away. But I'm not saying don't have expectations, right? Hold this program, hold the decision makers, not just the coaching staff, to a high standard. Tell them what you expect on the field and off the field. Tell them how they are supposed to represent you. Tell them that you want them to be on their P's and Q's, to dot their I's and cross their T's, to be on the up and up, to work hard, be blue collar, be in touch with the fan base, the 90,000 strong that have, almost 400 consecutive sellouts. Voice your opinions, please. And please continue to voice them here. We appreciate you guys, and we would love to share what you have to say. But be realistic with what those expectations are. Come with a good argument. Explain it. If you can explain your argument, we'd love to have it. And I hope that we get a good rationale for the direction of the program under Matt Rule tomorrow. Let's go to break here. A couple more texts to get to on the text line. I'll preview day 2 of Big Ten Media Days, including what you can expect, who you can expect on these very airwaves tomorrow. We'll do that to wrap up Old School after this.
You're listening to Old School with DP&J. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you're looking for a pre-owned tractor to upgrade your operation this year, you'll find a wide selection at your local Landmark Implement. We'll work with you to find the right equipment for your needs at a price that's right for you. All backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network. During the month of July, get financing as low as 3.9% for up to 72 months on model year 21 through 23 wheeled 8R tractors. Visit landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark location today and experience the Landmark difference.
Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals. Are you or someone you love struggling with substance use? The Bridge Behavioral Health in Lincoln offers outpatient therapy for those 19 and over. The Bridge is conveniently located in the South Haymarket and near city bus lines. With payment options through insurance and a sliding fee scale, services are available for any adult 19 and over seeking help. Call 402-477-3951 to learn more or schedule your appointment today. The Bridge Behavioral Health is a local substance use treatment facility offering hope and a solid foundation for recovery through substance use treatment and behavioral health interventions.
Football season is nearly here, and your long wait for year 2 of Matt Rule is almost over. Gear up for the season with 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days from July 23rd to the 25th, live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Jay Foreman, Amon Green, Adam Carricker, Chancellor Brewington, Derek Pearson, Steve Sipple, Jake Sorensen, and Nick Sainer will be in Indy for our shows Tuesday through Thursday. Getting the latest news from Nebraska and everyone else around the conference. Coverage of Big Ten Media Days is brought to you by 1890 Nebraska, Stevens and Smith Construction, The Complex, Warhorse Casino, and Riddles Jewelry. Play ball!
Ready to unleash the fun with Salt Dogs Baseball? Join us at Haymarket Park for 50 action-packed games running through August. Stay ahead of the game by visiting saltdogs.com for updates on exciting promotions, giveaways, and events happening each week. Experience a change-up from your typical family night, or make it a Grand Slam good time with friends and coworkers.
Strike 3, you're out!
Don't miss the fun happening all summer long. Visit saltdogs.com to get your tickets and unleash the fun.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road. For over 15 years, Integrated Life Choices has empowered individuals with disabilities in Lincoln and throughout Nebraska. They provide comprehensive services from group homes and independent living services to job training, ensuring fulfilling lives for those that they serve. Now, they're inviting you to join their mission. If you're passionate about making a difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities, explore rewarding career opportunities with them. Learn more about their services and apply today at www.ilc.net. Be a part of Integrated Life Choices, where your work truly changes lives.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $25.60 per hour, which grows to $30.12 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $34.51 per hour with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacations for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
At Doane University, we build leaders, and that means your success and achievements come first.
At Doane University, your future is uniquely yours, and our world-class liberal arts education is just the beginning.
We invite you to schedule your campus visit and experience why Doane University will start you on your journey to your future career.
Learn more by scheduling your personal campus visit today at doane.edu/visit. See you soon.
Old School with DP&J.
There's California money, and it's a different kind of money. Hollywood money
just it's spent differently because it's turned over and created so in full. And oh, by the way, it's the right kind of money when it comes to, because we're in the era now of name, image, and likeness. And the California schools have that better than everybody else.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Back to old school with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
DP and J will be back with you tomorrow from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. I'm Austin Norman. Been a great show. It's really flown by these last 2 hours. Truly appreciate your involvement on our text line at 402-464-5685. If you've got any final thoughts, get them in here in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the show. 0022 says, Nebraska has the Ferrari, but unfortunately they have no place to park it, so it's protected. They need players to hang with him, and they just don't have them. Aha. Partial agree, partial disagree. Well, 75% agree, 25% pump the brakes, right? Even Ferraris have brakes. It's not just a gas pedal, right? Like the Ferrari's meant to be driven around. Are we sure Dylan Raiola is a Ferrari? Sure as heck looks like it compared to, the cars Nebraska's been driving around at quarterback recently. I'm not going to say he's not, but I'm also going to say, let's take it with a grain of salt. Let's actually let him prove he's a Ferrari before we call him a Ferrari, right? Let's say Dylan Raiola is a Camaro. Let's say he's a Corvette this year. Are we disappointed that that's all we get from him? Or is it, hey, this is still a nicer car than we've had. We put a little miles on it, drove it around. We see it. Can we upgrade it? Can we improve it? We got bowl game money now for the first time in a while. Can we upgrade our Camaro to, I don't know, a Jaguar, a Rolls, whatever, right? So the hope is that Dylan is a Ferrari or driving a Ferrari of a program before, but let's not say he's a Ferrari quite yet. Now, they need players to hang with him, and they just don't have them. Tend to agree, but I guess we'll see, right? I don't think you go get Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nayer if you don't think Dylan Raiola is the starter. I mean, you needed receiver help, but those are two really high-level guys. Jamal Banks, an all-ACC caliber receiver. Isaiah Nayer, what he did early on at Wyoming was spectacular. There's a reason Texas, college football playoff participant, Texas wanted him. Injury buried him on the depth chart and he couldn't work his way back in time. But if he's healthy and full go, that's a game changer, right? Those guys are there. Do you trust Fedoni to be a guy? He'll be there. Can Carter Nelson, Royals brand. Can Carter Nelson come in and be a difference maker on day one? Can Dante Dowdell come in and be a difference maker on day one? Is there a Lee Ford and Emmett Johnson? Can Ben Scott be an all Big Ten center? Micah Mazuka ready to go at guard? Is Bryce Benhart going to back up last year with another good year? Left side of the line, who's your left tackle? Can Prohaska stay healthy and kick Corcoran inside to guard? We'll see. I don't think the cupboard is bare necessarily. Like Nebraska's under one of those freestanding outdoor coverings, right? It's not a garage with an opener, but it's covered. Dylan Raiola has some cover, has other dudes around him, but we also have to see more from him at the same time. I think that's all fair. Big Bird says turnovers, take away 1 turnover per game, and Nebraska wins 7-ish games. Just need to take care of the ball. If you add 1 takeaway and subtract 1 giveaway, you'll be in a really good spot if you're in Nebraska. All right, what's coming up tomorrow here on 93.7 The Ticket? More coverage from Indianapolis, obviously, but it's Nebraska Day. Nebraska will take the podium. We will be there for every word, every step of the way. Nebraska takes the podium along with Iowa, Michigan State, Penn State, and then the 2 LA schools, UCLA and USC. On the Nebraska front, we are being told to expect Matt Rhule on our airwaves tomorrow morning. All 3 Nebraska players should stop by in the morning as well. And Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti at least gave some verbal confirmation that he was willing to be on the air, and I believe that's going to happen at some point tomorrow. 6 a.m., to at least 4 p.m., if not 6 p.m., you will need to be right here on 93.7 The Ticket for those interviews, those conversations, for the analysis and the reaction. Follow The Ticket on social media. Make sure you're doing that already because you won't want to miss Nebraska Day in Indianapolis tomorrow. Thanks again for being with me for these last 2 hours here during Old School. Thanks to the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese for sponsoring the show. Big thanks to Sartor Heyman Jewelers for their sponsorship of the comment section, the live video stream, and of course the text line that was oh so active today. Big thanks to Allo as well for everything they do for us here at The Ticket. It's been fun. It's been a great 2 hours. It's flown by. Again, 6 a.m. tomorrow, early break, 8 o'clock on coverage live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. You won't want to miss it. Keep it tuned right here all night and then all day tomorrow for everything you need to know about Big Ten Media Days and the Nebraska element here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You're listening to Big Ten Media Days coverage from Indianapolis. Sponsored by 1890 Nebraska, Stevens & Smith Construction, The Complex, Warhorse Casino, and Reynolds Jewelry on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Get ready, Husker fans. The Big Red Preview is coming soon. Join us Saturday night, August 3rd, for an exclusive look at your Nebraska football team in action. Experience the excitement, the energy, the sights and